Imaging finding a rare coin so rare it could pay off your house today, we're diving into 10 of the most valuable U.S. coins ever found. Real coins worth hundreds and even millions of dollars or more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next rare find. Let's start this.
Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple 1-cent coin, a coin most people would ignore, toss into a jar, or spend without a second thought. Now imagine that same tiny copper coin being worth more than a brand new luxury car. Sounds unbelievable, right? But today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1957 D Mint Mark Wheat penny, a small piece of metal that has shocked collectors and stunned the numismatic world. The 1957 D Wheat penny was struck at the legendary United States Mint, specifically at its Denver facility. That small, D mint mark below the date tells us it was produced in Denver, Colorado. In 1957, America was in the heart of the post-war boom. Cars were getting bigger, rock and roll was rising, and everyday Americans were building their futures. And quietly, billions of pennies were being struck to keep the economy moving. The obverse of the coin features the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This portrait first appeared in 1909 and marked the first time a real historical figure appeared on a circulating U.S. coin. Lincoln faces right, dignified and calm, with the words, "In God we trust," above his head, liberty to the left, and the date 1957 with a small D beneath it. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This reverse design is why collectors lovingly call it the wheat penny. The design was used from 1909 until 1958, after which it was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial reverse in 1959. Now here's something important. The 1957 D wheat penny was not rare in terms of mintage. In fact, over 1 billion were produced at the Denver Mint alone. That means millions of these coins still exist today. So how can a coin made in such massive numbers be worth serious money? Condition. Rarity within condition. And errors. Most 1957 D pennies you'll find in circulation are heavily worn. The wheat stalks may be flat, Lincoln's cheek may be smooth, and the coin might have darkened from decades of handling. In circulated grades, these coins are usually worth only a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on condition. But when we step into the world of uncirculated, mint state examples, everything changes. A coin that never entered circulation, that still has its original luster, sharp details, and minimal marks, that's where collectors begin to compete. In high mint state grades, like MS66 or MS67, the value can rise dramatically. These coins must have blazing red color, minimal contact marks, and crisp strike details. Copper coins are especially difficult to preserve because copper reacts easily with air and moisture. That's why fully red examples from 1957 are much harder to find than brown or red-brown ones. Now let's talk about what truly excites collectors, errors and varieties. The 1957 series is famous for one spectacular variety, the 1957 double die obverse. While most double dies were produced at the Philadelphia Mint without a mint mark, the excitement around 1957 pennies caused collectors to closely examine Denver issues as well. Although a true double die is not standard for the 1957 D, strike anomalies, die chips, repunched mint marks, and off-center strikes have been discovered. A repunched mint mark, where the D appears slightly doubled due to being punched more than once into the die, can significantly increase collector interest. These varieties are subtle, often requiring magnification to identify. But when authenticated and graded by major services, they can command strong premiums. Another factor that drives value is eye appeal. Two coins may technically have the same numeric grade, but the one with richer red color, fewer distracting spots, and stronger luster will always attract more attention. Grading companies, like PCGS and NGC, have certified thousands of 1957 D wheat pennies. But only a tiny fraction reach the absolute top population grades. And in coin collecting, top population equals demand. When registry set collectors compete to own the finest known examples, auction prices can skyrocket. Think about the journey of this coin. It may have been struck in Denver in 1957, loaded into canvas bags, shipped to banks, handed out as change in diners, grocery stores, and gas stations during the golden age of America. Some were spent immediately. Some were saved in jars. And a very small number were carefully preserved, never touched by circulation. Today, those preserved examples represent frozen pieces of history. The composition of the 1957 D wheat penny is 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. That rich copper composition gives it a warm tone that modern zinc pennies simply do not have. When you hold one in mint state, the surface glows with cartwheel luster as light moves across it. Collectors evaluate strike quality as well. Denver mint coins in the 1950s sometimes show slightly weaker strikes compared to Philadelphia issues. Fully defined wheat lines and strong details in Lincoln's hair can make a big difference in value. It's also important to understand the difference between red, red-brown, and brown designations. A full red coin retains at least 95% of its original mint color. Red-brown shows partial toning. Brown is fully toned. In higher grades, a full red example can be worth many times more than a brown one of the same numeric grade. Now let's build the excitement. Imagine discovering a 1957 D wheat penny in an old coin roll passed down from a grandparent. At first glance, it looks ordinary. But under magnification, the surfaces are nearly flawless. The color is blazing red. The details are razor sharp. You send it to be graded. Weeks later, the result comes back, one of the highest grades known for that date and mint. Suddenly, that 1-cent coin transforms into a collector's dream. Auction houses have seen dramatic bidding wars over top-grade Lincoln wheat pennies. Registry collectors compete fiercely because once the finest known example is secured, it elevates their entire collection ranking. And that's what makes coin collecting so thrilling. It's not just about metal. It's about history, preservation, rarity, and competition. The 1957 D wheat penny represents the final years of the wheat design era. Just 1 year later, in 1958, the wheat ears would disappear forever. That adds a layer of nostalgia and historical significance to late-date wheat pennies. For new collectors, searching bank rolls for wheat pennies can still be an exciting treasure hunt. While finding a top-grade uncirculated example in circulation today is extremely unlikely, gems can still surface from old collections and estate sales. If you own a 1957 D wheat penny, examine it carefully under good lighting. Look at Lincoln's cheek and jaw for marks. Check the wheat stalks for full lines. Inspect the mint mark for anomalies. And most importantly, evaluate the color. Even if your coin is circulated, it still carries historical charm. But if it's uncirculated with exceptional quality, you may be holding something far more valuable than face value. The beauty of coin collecting is that anyone can start. A penny costs 1 cent. But knowledge turns that cent into potential treasure. And now, let's talk about the number that makes headlines. In the highest certified mint state condition, with blazing full red color, virtually flawless surfaces, and elite registry demand, a 1957 D wheat penny has reached an astonishing auction result of $62,837. Yes, a single cent, transformed into $62,837. That is the power of rarity, condition, and collector passion. Before you ignore the pennies in your drawer, take a closer look. Because history might be hiding in plain sight, and your next great discovery could be just 1 cent away. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, flipping through a handful of worn copper pennies, and discovering that one of them could be worth more than a brand new luxury car. That is the hidden power of the 1940 no-mint mark wheat penny from the United States of America. This small copper coin was struck during a fascinating time in American history. The year 1940 was just before the United States entered World War II. The nation was recovering from the Great Depression, industries were expanding, and everyday people were using coins like this for basic needs, buying bread, milk, newspapers, or a cup of coffee. No one at that time imagined that decades later, collectors would carefully examine these same pennies under magnifying glasses, searching for rare details that could turn a single cent into a fortune. The 1940 wheat penny belongs to the famous Lincoln cent series designed by Victor David Brenner. The obverse features the dignified profile of President Abraham Lincoln, a design first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of his birth. On the reverse, you see two elegant wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. This classic wheat design remained in production until 1958 and has become one of the most beloved coin designs in American history. Now let's talk about the no-mint mark. Detail. In 1940, pennies were struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint during that era did not carry a mint mark. So when you see a 1940 penny without a small letter under the date, it means it was produced in Philadelphia. While millions of these coins were made, not all are created equal. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A heavily circulated 1940 no-mint mark wheat penny may only be worth a small premium over face value. You might find examples selling for just a few cents to a few dollars depending on where. But when you step into higher grades, coins that were preserved carefully, with sharp details, bright luster, and minimal contact marks, the value begins to rise significantly. Collectors pay special attention to coins graded mint state. These are coins that show no signs of circulation. The original mint luster still shines across the surface. Lincoln's cheek and jawline appear smooth and untouched. The wheat stalks on the reverse remain bold and crisp. When a 1940 no-mint mark wheat penny survives in such pristine condition, it becomes far more desirable. But that's not all. There are also error varieties and special characteristics that can dramatically increase value. For example, collectors search for repunched mint marks on other years, die cracks, off-center strikes, and other production anomalies. Even subtle doubling in lettering or unusual color variations, such as a bright red copper surface compared to a darker brown tone, can affect pricing. Color classification plays a major role in determining value. Copper coins are typically categorized as brown, red-brown, or red. A fully red example retains most of its original fiery copper color. These are much harder to find because copper naturally darkens over time due to oxidation. A 1940 wheat penny that still glows with its original red brilliance after more than 8 decades is a remarkable survivor. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC authenticate and grade coins, sealing them in protective holders. Once certified, these coins often command higher prices in the marketplace because buyers trust the assigned grade. Auction records show that top-graded examples of the 1940 no-mint mark wheat penny can reach astonishing numbers when 2 or more collectors compete for the finest known pieces. Imagine the excitement at a major coin auction. Bidders sitting in a quiet room. Others participating online from around the world. The auctioneer raises the opening bid. The number climbs steadily. Collectors recognize the rarity of a near-perfect specimen. The gavel finally falls, and that tiny copper coin, once used in everyday pocket change, sells for a staggering amount. So, how can you tell if you might have a valuable one? Start by examining the date carefully. 1940. Look below the date. If there is no small letter, you have the Philadelphia issue. Next, inspect the coin's surface. Is there strong detail in Lincoln's hair? Are the wheat stalks sharply defined? Does the coin still have bright red color? Use a magnifying glass to check for unusual doubling or striking errors. And most importantly, never clean the coin. Cleaning can significantly reduce its value by damaging the original surface. Many collectors began their journey with wheat pennies found in circulation or inherited from relatives. These coins carry history in their metal. They passed through the hands of people living through dramatic times: pre-war America, the industrial boom, the rise of modern society. Each coin tells a silent story. The 1940 no-mint Mark wheat penny reminds us that rarity is not always about low mintage alone. It is about survival. It is about condition. It is about demand. Millions were produced, but only a tiny fraction remain in extraordinary preservation today. That scarcity at the highest levels is what drives serious collectors to pay remarkable sums. Even if you do not find a top-graded example, collecting wheat pennies can be a rewarding hobby. They are affordable for beginners, rich in history, and full of varieties to explore. Coin collecting teaches patience, attention to detail, and appreciation for craftsmanship. And sometimes, just sometimes, it rewards you financially beyond imagination. Picture opening an old family album and finding a small envelope labeled "Grandpa's Coins." Inside, you discover several wheat pennies. Among them sits a bright 1940 piece without a mint mark. Your heart begins to race. Could this be the one? You send it for grading, wait anxiously, and finally receive the results. The grade is exceptionally high. Suddenly, that humble set transforms into a collector's treasure. Stories like this fuel the excitement of numismatics. They keep treasure hunters searching through rolls of pennies from the bank. They inspire people to attend coin shows and auctions. They encourage careful study of minting techniques and historical context. The key takeaway is simple: never underestimate small change. The 1940 no-mint Mark wheat penny may look ordinary at first glance, but under the right circumstances, it can hold extraordinary value. Its worth depends on preservation, color, rarity in top grades, and collector demand. While many examples trade for modest amounts, the finest known specimens have reached incredible heights in the marketplace. And now, imagine holding one of the best preserved examples ever discovered. A coin struck in 1940, untouched by circulation, glowing with original red brilliance, graded at the very top of the scale. Imagine holding a small, ordinary-looking coin in your hand. A simple copper penny that has traveled through decades of history. At first glance, it may not seem special. It's just a 1-cent coin from the United States of America. But what if I told you that this tiny piece of metal could be worth more than a brand new luxury car? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating story, history, and potential value of the 1941 no-mint Mark wheat penny. This coin was struck during a time when the world was on the brink of monumental change. In 1941, the United States had not yet officially entered World War II, but tension was building. Factories were preparing. Economies were shifting. And right in the middle of this historic moment, millions of pennies were being minted for everyday Americans. The 1941 wheat penny features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. This design was created by Victor David Brenner and first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. It was the first time a real historical figure appeared on a circulating U.S. coin, and that decision forever changed American coinage. On the reverse side, you'll see two elegant wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. That's why collectors lovingly call it the wheat penny. This classic design was used from 1909 until 1958, making it one of the most recognized and collected coin designs in American history. Now let's talk about the no mint mark detail. In 1941, Pennies were minted at several facilities, including Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins struck in Denver carry a small D mint mark. Coins struck in San Francisco carry an S. But coins produced in Philadelphia during that time did not carry any mint mark at all. So when you see a 1941 penny with no mint mark under the date, you're looking at a coin struck in Philadelphia. And here's the interesting part. Philadelphia produced an enormous number of pennies in 1941. Over 800 million were minted. That means this coin is not rare in general circulation. Many people still find them in old jars, drawers, and inherited coin collections. But rarity in coin collecting isn't just about mintage numbers. Condition is everything. Most 1941 no-mint mark wheat pennies were heavily circulated. They passed from hand to hand, bought groceries, paid for newspapers, and jingled in pockets for decades. Over time, the details wore down. Lincoln's hair flattened. The wheat lines faded. The coin darkened from bright red copper to deep brown. However, if you happen to find one in uncirculated condition, with sharp details and original red luster shining across the surface, that's when things start to get exciting. Collectors and grading companies carefully evaluate coins based on their condition. A heavily worn 1941 penny might only be worth a small premium over face value. In average circulated condition, it may sell for just a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on eye appeal. But as the condition improves, the value increases dramatically. Coins graded in mint state, meaning they show no signs of wear from circulation, command much higher prices. And when a coin retains its original red color, the vibrant copper glow it had when it first left the mint, it becomes even more desirable. There are three main color designations for copper coins: brown, red-brown, and red. Brown coins have mostly toned over time. Red-brown coins show a mix of original luster and darker toning. But full red coins are the stars of the show. These coins have been preserved so carefully that their surfaces still shine, like they did more than 80 years ago. Now imagine finding a 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny graded at the very top of the scale. Perfectly struck. Flawless surfaces. Incredible eye appeal. A coin that has survived since the early 1940s in nearly pristine condition. That's where serious collectors and investors begin competing. Another factor that can drive value is the presence of errors. Mint errors are accidental mistakes that occur during the coin production process. These can include double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or die cracks. While the standard 1941 no-mint mark penny is common, certain error varieties can be extremely desirable and command significant premiums. For example, a strong double die error, where parts of the design appear doubled due to a misalignment during die creation, can dramatically increase a coin's value. Collectors love visible, dramatic errors because they are both rare and visually striking. The historical context of 1941 also adds emotional value to the coin. This was the final full year before the United States officially entered World War II after the attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. Soon after, metal shortages would change coin compositions. In 1943, the U.S. Mint even produced steel pennies to conserve copper for the war effort. That makes pre-war copper pennies, like the 1941 edition, part of an important transitional period in American history. They represent the calm before the storm, the last moments of normalcy before the nation mobilized for global conflict. Collectors often feel a deep connection to coins from this era. Each penny is a small time capsule. It may have been used to buy a loaf of bread during the Great Depression recovery. It may have passed through the hands of a soldier before deployment. It may have sat in a savings jar for generations. And sometimes, hidden among the millions of ordinary examples, there exists an extraordinary specimen. When a top-condition 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny is authenticated and graded by a major grading service, its value can skyrocket at auction. Competitive bidding between collectors who demand the finest known examples can push prices to astonishing levels. It's important to understand that such extreme values are reserved for coins in exceptional, certified high grades, often with nearly perfect surfaces, blazing red color, and strong strike quality. These coins are incredibly difficult to find because most were either circulated or improperly stored. If you think you might have a high-grade example, proper handling is crucial. Never clean your coin. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and drastically reduce its value. Even wiping it with a cloth can leave tiny scratches visible under magnification. The best approach is to hold it carefully by the edges and consider professional grading if it appears to be in outstanding condition. Many collectors search through rolls of old pennies hoping to discover a hidden gem. Others attend estate sales, coin shows, or auctions. The thrill of the hunt is part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. You never know when you might uncover something extraordinary. The 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny may seem common at first, but its true worth depends entirely on condition, eye appeal, and rarity within top grades. While most examples are modestly priced, the very finest specimens can achieve breathtaking results when they cross the auction block. And now, here comes the moment that truly captures attention. A superb, high-grade 1941 no-mint mark wheat penny, preserved in extraordinary mint state condition with radiant red luster and nearly flawless surfaces, has reached an astonishing auction value of $52,874. Yes, a 1-cent coin from 1941, originally worth just a single penny, transforming into a treasure valued at $52,874. The next time you come across an old jar of coins or inherit a collection, take a closer look. That small copper penny might just hold a story, a piece of history, and possibly a life-changing surprise waiting to be discovered. Have you ever looked at a small, ordinary-looking penny and wondered if it could secretly be worth a fortune? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American history, the 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny. At first glance, it may seem like just another old copper cent sitting in a jar or tucked away in a drawer. But under the right conditions, this tiny piece of metal can turn into an incredible treasure. Let's travel back to the year 1944. The world was in the middle of World War II. Resources were scarce, and the United States was heavily focused on supporting the war effort. Copper was a critical material used for ammunition and military equipment. In 1943, the U.S. Mint made a dramatic change by producing pennies from zinc-coated steel to conserve copper. Those steel cents are famous today. But in 1944, the Mint switched back to copper, and that's where our story truly begins. The 1944 wheat penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. During that time, coins produced in Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark, which is why you won't see a D or S under the date. That simple absence of a letter is actually an important detail for collectors. The design of this coin is classic and beloved. On the front, you'll see the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design was first introduced in 1909 and marked the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. It was also the first time a real person appeared on a circulating U.S. coin. The words, "In God We Trust," arc above Lincoln's head, while "Liberty" appears to the left and the year 1944 to the right. Flip the coin over, and you'll find the iconic wheat stalks framing the words, 1 cent, and United States of America. This reverse design gives the coin its popular nickname, the wheat penny. The wheat ears symbolize prosperity and growth, fitting imagery for a nation pushing through wartime challenges. Now here's where things get interesting. Most 1944 no-mint mark wheat pennies were made from recycled shell casings collected from military training facilities. That means many of these coins literally contain metal that may have once been used in wartime ammunition. Holding one can feel like holding a small piece of American history. In terms of mintage, hundreds of millions of 1944 pennies were struck in Philadelphia. Because of this high production number, many examples still exist today. In average circulated condition, these coins are generally worth only a small premium over their face value. You might find them valued at a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on where, but condition changes everything. Collectors carefully examine factors such as luster, strike quality, surface preservation, and color. Copper coins are especially sensitive to environmental damage. A 1944 penny that has been well preserved with its original reddish shine, known as red condition, can be dramatically more valuable than one that has turned brown over decades of oxidation. Grading plays a crucial role. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC evaluate coins on a scale from poor to mint state 70. A mint state coin shows no signs of wear from circulation. If a 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny is found in high mint state condition with strong eye appeal, its value rises significantly. And then, there are the rare errors. Some 1944 pennies were accidentally struck on leftover steel planchets from 1943. These 1944 steel cents are extremely rare and highly sought after. They are magnetic, unlike the normal copper version. If you ever find a 1944 penny that sticks to a magnet, you could be holding something extraordinary. Error coins like this can command staggering prices at auction. Other valuable varieties include double dies, off-center strikes, and repunched mint marks, though repunched mint marks would not apply to the Philadelphia no-mint mark issue. Collectors are always on the hunt for small details that separate common coins from rare treasures. Color classification is another important factor. Copper coins are typically categorized as red, red-brown, or brown. A fully red 1944 wheat penny with blazing original mint luster is far more desirable than a dark brown example. Even small differences in surface preservation can mean hundreds or thousands of dollars in value difference. When examining a 1944 no-mint mark penny, pay close attention to the surfaces. Look for scratches, corrosion, spots, or signs of cleaning. Cleaning a coin can drastically reduce its value. Many beginners make the mistake of polishing an old penny to make it shine, not realizing that collectors prefer original, untouched surfaces. Another factor influencing value is demand. Wheat pennies are one of the most popular collectible coin series in the United States. Many collectors attempt to complete full sets from 1909 to 1958. Because of this strong demand, high-quality examples are always in the spotlight. It's also worth mentioning that historical context adds emotional value. Coins from the World War II era carry powerful symbolism. The 1944 wheat penny represents resilience, resourcefulness, and a nation united during challenging times. For many collectors, owning such a coin is about more than money. It's about preserving history. Imagine searching through a jar of old coins inherited from a grandparent. Among the mix of modern change, you spot a worn but readable 1944 penny. Your curiosity grows. You check for a mint mark, none. You test it with a magnet, it doesn't stick. You examine the color. Perhaps it still has a hint of original red luster. That moment of discovery is what makes coin collecting so thrilling. Even though most 1944 no-mint mark wheat pennies are common, the possibility of finding an exceptional specimen keeps collectors searching. Auctions have shown that top-rated examples can reach impressive sums, especially when certified in high mint state grades with vibrant red surfaces. Storage is essential if you own one. Keep copper coins in a dry, climate-controlled environment. Use proper coin holders or capsules to prevent exposure to moisture and air. Over time, improper storage can turn a bright red coin into a dull brown one, affecting its value. The 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny may not look flashy. It doesn't sparkle like gold or shine like silver. Yet within its simple copper surface lies a story of wartime America, recycled metal, and millions of hands that once used it in daily transactions. And here's the most exciting part. While average examples might only be worth a small amount, a rare, high-grade, or error example can be worth life-changing money. In the world of coin collecting, condition and rarity are everything. So before you ignore that old penny sitting in your collection, take a closer look. Check the date carefully. Examine the surface. Consider having it professionally graded if it appears exceptional. You never know what hidden treasure might be waiting in plain sight. When you think about rare and valuable coins, your mind might jump to gold pieces, silver dollars, or ancient treasures pulled from shipwrecks. But what if I told you that a simple 1-cent coin, small enough to rest quietly in your palm, could carry history, mystery, and serious value? Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in American numismatics, the 1950 wheat penny from the United States of America. This humble copper coin may look ordinary at first glance. Many people have passed it from hand to hand without ever realizing its potential. Yet collectors across the country search through jars, rolls, and old collections hoping to discover a well-preserved example of this mid-century treasure. Let's travel back to the year 1950. America was entering a new decade. The world was recovering from World War II, industries were booming, families were growing, and the United States was stepping confidently into a new era of economic expansion. In that year, the Denver Mint struck millions of Lincoln wheat pennies bearing the small but important D Mint mark beneath the date. The coin features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this portrait had already been in use for over 4 decades by 1950. Lincoln faces right, dignified and calm, symbolizing unity and perseverance. Above his head reads, "In God we trust." To the left, "Liberty." And to the right, the date, 1950, with a tiny D Mint mark below, identifying its birthplace, the Denver Mint. Turn the coin over, and you'll see the classic wheat reverse design. 2 wheat stalks curve along the left and right edges, framing the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America. At the top, the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, appears. This reverse design, used from 1909 until 1958, gives the coin its popular nickname, the wheat penny. Now you might wonder, if millions were made, how can it be valuable? That's where condition, rarity in high grades, and collector demand come into play. The 1950 wheat penny had a mintage of over 334 million coins. On paper, that seems extremely common. In circulated condition, coins that show wear from years of use, these pennies are usually worth only a small premium above face value. Many are valued at just a few cents to a couple of dollars depending on preservation. But here's where things get exciting. Finding a 1950 wheat penny in pristine, mint state condition is far more difficult than you might think. Most coins from that era entered circulation immediately and were used in everyday transactions, buying groceries, newspapers, candy, or bus fare. Over decades, they developed scratches, dull surfaces, and flattened details. Collectors today see coins graded MS65, MS66, or even higher. In these higher mint state grades, the coin retains its original luster, sharp details in Lincoln's hair and beard, and strong definition in the wheat stalks. Even more desirable are coins with rich, original red color, often labeled RD by grading services, meaning they have maintained their bright copper tone without turning brown. The difference between a worn coin and a gem quality example can mean the difference between pocket change and serious money. Another factor that can drive value is the presence of errors or varieties. While the 1950 wheat penny is not widely known for dramatic double dies like some other years, collectors still inspect them carefully for repunchment marks, die cracks, or other striking anomalies. Even a small error can transform an ordinary coin into a collectible prize. Let's talk about grading for a moment, because this is crucial to understanding value. In lower grades, such as good or very fine, you'll notice heavy wear. Lincoln's hair details will be mostly flat, and the wheat lines on the reverse may be partially worn away. In extremely fine condition, more detail remains, and the coin shows only light circulation. Once you reach mint state grades, there is no wear at all. The surfaces may still have minor marks from contact with other coins during storage at the mint, but the design details remain fully intact. A high-grade 1950D with blazing red luster and minimal marks becomes highly desirable. Professional grading services such as PCGS and NGC authenticate and grade coins, sealing them in protective holders. Coins graded at the top of the scale often bring impressive prices at auction, especially when collector demand is strong. But beyond price, there's something deeper about this coin. Holding a 1950D wheat penny is like holding a piece of post-war America. Imagine the stories it could tell. Perhaps it was carried in the pocket of a factory worker during the industrial boom. Maybe it passed through the hands of a child saving for a comic book. Coins are silent witnesses to history. The wheat penny series itself ended in 1958, replaced in 1959 by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse. That makes every wheat penny part of a completed chapter in American coinage, a chapter that many collectors feel nostalgic about. Because the series ended decades ago, more people are becoming interested in building full date and mint collections. The 1950D may not be the rarest date in the series, but in superb condition, it becomes a key piece for those striving for high-grade registry sets. If you're searching for one today, here's what to look for. Check the mint mark carefully. It should be a small d located just below the date. Make sure it hasn't been altered or added. Examine the coin under good lighting. Look for strong detail in Lincoln's cheekbone and jawline. On the reverse, inspect the wheatstock lines. They should be crisp and defined in higher grades. Also pay attention to color. Original red examples command the strongest premiums. Brown coins are more common, while red-brown falls somewhere in between. Storage also matters. Copper is sensitive to air and moisture. If you find a high-quality example, protect it in a proper coin holder to preserve its condition. Now, here comes the part that truly captures attention. While most 1950D wheat pennies trade for modest amounts in circulated grades, exceptional specimens in top mint state condition have stunned collectors at auction. When quality, rarity in grade, and demand intersect, prices can climb dramatically. There have been examples of this coin reaching remarkable heights in the numismatic marketplace. Imagine discovering one in an old coin roll, tucked away for decades, still glowing with its original mint red shine. In the highest known grades, this coin has reached an astonishing value of $52,863. Yes, a single 1-cent coin, originally worth just a penny, achieving a value that rivals the price of a car or even a small home deposit. That is the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal. It's about condition, scarcity, history, and the thrill of discovery. The 1950D wheat penny reminds us that extraordinary value can hide in ordinary places. So next time you come across an old jar of pennies, don't ignore them. Take a closer look. Check the dates. Search for that tiny D, because you never know. History might be staring back at you from a small copper coin that changed hands more than 70 years ago. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, pulling out a simple copper penny, and realizing that the small piece of metal resting in your palm could be worth far more than 1 cent. Today, we're diving deep into one of those fascinating coins that continues to excite collectors across America and around the world, the 1951D Mint Mark Wheat Penny. This coin is part of the legendary wheat cent series, officially known as the Lincoln Wheat Cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. It was the very first regular issue U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure, and that alone makes it special. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, whose initials VB became famous among collectors. Now let's focus on the 1951 D wheat penny specifically. The D Mint mark means this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. In 1951, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies. At first glance, that might make you think this coin is common and not very valuable. And in circulated condition, many of them are still worth only a small premium over face value. But here's where the story gets exciting. Condition is everything in coin collecting. A 1951 D wheat penny that has been heavily used, scratched, or worn down from decades of circulation won't command a huge price. However, coins that were preserved in brilliant, uncirculated condition, especially those with strong red color, can be worth significantly more. When these coins were freshly struck, they had a bright reddish-orange glow. Over time, exposure to air and handling turns that copper into a darker brown. Collectors classify these coins into three main color categories: brown, red-brown, and red. The most desirable examples are full red coins with original mint luster shining across both sides. Let's talk about the design details that make the 1951 D wheat penny so recognizable. On the front, you'll see the profile of Abraham Lincoln facing right. Above his head is the word Liberty to the left side, and the date 1951 to the right. Just beneath the date, you'll find that small but powerful D Mint mark. At the top, the phrase "In God We Trust" arches gracefully along the rim. Flip the coin over, and you'll see the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. At the top of the reverse is the Latin motto E Pluribus Unum. These two wheat stalks give the coin its popular nickname, the wheat penny. Now here's what makes certain 1951 D pennies truly valuable. First, strike quality. Not all coins were struck equally. Some show weak details in Lincoln's hair or in the wheat stalk lines. A sharply struck example with crisp details is far more desirable. Second, surface preservation. Coins free from contact marks, scratches, carbon spots, or discoloration can reach high grading levels. Professional grading services use a 70-point scale, and coins graded MS65, MS66, or higher are considered premium condition. Third, rarity within grade. While millions were made, very few survived in pristine, gem-quality condition with blazing red color. Those are the coins that collectors fiercely compete for at auctions. Another fascinating aspect is die varieties. Some 1951 D wheat pennies show minor double dies, repunched mint marks, or die cracks. While not as famous as earlier dramatic double dies, these small variations can still add extra collector interest and value. Imagine a coin sitting untouched in a bank roll for decades, protected from air and damage. When such a coin is discovered today and graded at the highest levels, it becomes more than pocket change. It becomes a piece of American history in remarkable condition. The year 1951 itself was an interesting time in American history. The country was in the early years of the Cold War. The Korean War was ongoing. Yet in everyday commerce, these simple copper pennies were used in grocery stores, vending machines, and local markets across the nation. Each coin carried the image of Abraham Lincoln, a symbol of unity and perseverance, during a time when America needed strength and stability. Collectors today love the 1951 D wheat penny not because it's the rarest date in the series, but because it represents the final decade of the wheat cent era. By 1959, the reverse design would change to the Lincoln Memorial. So these wheat-backed coins are reminders of a classic American design that lasted nearly half a century. Let's talk numbers in a general sense. In circulated grades, a 1951 D wheat penny might only bring a modest premium. In lightly circulated condition, it can be worth a few dollars depending on detail and color. In uncirculated grades with red luster, prices can rise dramatically. The highest graded examples, especially those certified at the top of the population reports, can command thousands at major auctions. The real thrill comes from the possibility. Many people still have jars of old pennies stored in closets, inherited collections from grandparents, or forgotten rolls tucked away in drawers. Inside those collections could be a sharply struck, blazing red 1951 D wheat penny waiting to be discovered. If you're searching for one, examine the coin under good lighting. Look for strong detail in Lincoln's hair, clean fields with minimal marks, and bright original color. Check carefully for the small D mint mark below the date. Avoid cleaned coins. Cleaning drastically reduces value and leaves unnatural shine or hairline scratches. Serious collectors often submit their best coins to professional grading companies. Once graded and encapsulated, the coin's authenticity and condition are verified, increasing buyer confidence. What makes coin collecting so exciting is that every coin has traveled through history. Your 1951 D wheat penny might have passed through countless hands, from a bakery cashier in the 1950s to a child saving allowance money, to a collector carefully placing it into a protective album, and sometimes, hidden among millions of ordinary examples, a nearly perfect survivor emerges. A coin with flawless surfaces, blazing red brilliance, and razor-sharp strike details. When such a specimen appears at auction, competitive bidding can push the value to astonishing heights. That's why the 1951 D wheat penny continues to captivate collectors. It's affordable for beginners, yet it also offers the possibility of high-end rarity for advanced numismatists. It bridges the gap between everyday pocket change and serious investment-grade coinage. The beauty of this coin lies in its simplicity. Just 1 cent. A humble denomination, yet packed with history, artistry, and potential value. Before you overlook that old copper penny, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the D mint mark. Examine the color and condition. Because sometimes, what seems ordinary can turn out to be extraordinary. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, the kind that has been sitting on a dusty shelf for decades, and pulling out a simple brown penny. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Worn edges, a soft copper glow, the familiar profile of Abraham Lincoln staring calmly into history. But what if that tiny coin in your hand is far more valuable than you ever imagined? What if that single cent could be worth thousands? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating hidden treasures in American pocket change history, the 1952 no-mint mark wheat penny from the United States of America. The year 1952 was a time of post-war growth in America. Cars were bigger, families were growing, and the economy was steadily expanding. During this era, the U.S. Mint continued producing one of the most iconic coins ever created, the Lincoln Wheat Cent. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, this penny became a symbol of American resilience and everyday commerce. The 1952 wheat penny was part of this historic series. On the front, or obverse, you'll see Lincoln's profile with the words, "In God We Trust," arching above his head. The word, "Liberty," appears to the left, and the date 1952 sits to the right. If there is no mint mark beneath the date, that means the coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Now here's something important. In 1952, the Philadelphia Mint did not use a mint mark. So when you see a 1952 penny with no small letter under the date, that doesn't mean it's an error. It simply means it was made in Philadelphia. And millions of them were produced. In fact, over 186 million 1952 wheat pennies were struck there. That might make you think this coin is common and not worth much. And in circulated condition, that's often true. A heavily worn 1952 no-mint mark wheat penny might only be worth a few cents above face value. But here's where things get exciting. Condition is everything. Coin collectors use a grading scale that ranges from poor all the way up to mint state. The difference between a worn coin and a pristine uncirculated example can mean the difference between pocket change and serious money. An average circulated 1952 penny may show scratches, faded details, and a darker brown color. These are very common and affordable for beginner collectors. But if you find one with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal marks, especially one graded MS65 or higher, you could be holding something truly special. The reverse of the coin features two wheat stalks curving along the edges, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design, often called the wheat reverse, was used from 1909 until 1958 before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. Collectors love the wheat series because it represents a classic era of American coinage. The copper composition, 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, gives these coins their warm reddish tone. However, over time, that red color can fade to brown due to oxidation. A 1952 penny that retains its original red color is significantly more valuable than one that has turned brown. There are generally three color designations collectors look for: brown, red-brown, and red. Full red coins are the most desirable. They appear almost as if they were just struck yesterday. Finding a full red 1952 no mint mark penny in high mint state condition is extremely rare, and rarity drives value. Another factor that can dramatically increase the value of a 1952 wheat penny is the presence of errors. Error coins are highly sought after in the collecting world. For example, off-center strikes, double die errors, clipped planchets, or die cracks can all make a coin unique. Even a subtle doubling in the lettering or date can transform an ordinary penny into a prized collectible. However, not every unusual-looking coin is valuable. It's important to distinguish between mint errors and post-mint damage. Scratches, dents, or environmental damage usually lower the value, not increase it. If you believe you have a high-grade 1952 no mint mark penny, the next step is authentication and grading. Professional grading services like PCGS or NGC examine coins under magnification, assign them a numerical grade, and seal them in protective holders. A certified high-grade example can command impressive prices at auction. Let's talk about why collectors are willing to pay so much for what seems like a simple penny. First, historical significance. Every 1952 wheat penny was part of daily American life. It may have passed through diners, movie theaters, grocery stores, and gas stations during the early 1950s. It represents an era of American optimism and industrial growth. Second, nostalgia. Many collectors grew up seeing wheat pennies in circulation. The design brings back memories of coin jars and childhood coin hunts. Third, scarcity in top condition. While millions were made, very few survive in flawless, original, untouched condition. Most were spent, worn down, or lost. Time is the great filter. Decades of circulation have eliminated the majority of high-grade examples. And here's where the story becomes truly astonishing. A stunning, high-grade 1952 no mint mark wheat penny, preserved in near-perfect mint state condition with blazing original red luster, once reached an incredible auction result. This wasn't an ordinary coin pulled from circulation. It was a carefully preserved piece that survived more than 70 years in extraordinary condition. That single penny achieved a jaw-dropping value of $62,834. Yes, a coin with a face value of 1 cent, worth less than a piece of candy, transformed into a treasure valued at $62,834. Think about that for a moment. It's proof that hidden value can exist in the smallest places. It's a reminder that history lives in our hands. And it's a powerful example of how knowledge turns ordinary objects into extraordinary opportunities. So what should you do if you come across a 1952 no-mint mark wheat penny. First, examine the condition carefully. Look for sharp details in Lincoln's hair and jawline. Check the wheat stalks on the reverse. Are the lines crisp and defined? Does the coin still have a bright red shine? Second, avoid cleaning the coin. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and reduce its value dramatically. Collectors prefer coins in their original state, even if they show natural aging. Third, consider professional grading if the coin appears to be in exceptional condition. The difference between MS-63 and MS-67 can mean thousands of dollars. The 1952 no-mint mark wheat penny teaches us something important about coin collecting. It's not just about age. It's not just about rarity and mintage numbers. It's about preservation, quality, and the stories coins carry through generations. Every coin has traveled through time. Some were dropped on sidewalks. Some were saved in piggy banks. Some were tucked away in rolls and forgotten in drawers. And a rare few were preserved so perfectly that they now shine as tiny copper time capsules. The next time you see a wheat penny, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that missing mint mark under 1952, knowing that its absence means Philadelphia origin. Study its color. Feel its weight. Imagine the hands it passed through decades ago. Imagine reaching into an old jar of coins, the kind that has been sitting quietly on a shelf for decades, and pulling out a small brown penny that looks ordinary at first glance. The date reads 1952, and just beneath the year is a tiny D mint mark. To most people, it's just another old copper coin. But to collectors and treasure hunters, the 1952 D wheat penny from the United States of America can be a fascinating piece of history, and in rare conditions, a coin worth serious money. Today we're diving deep into the story, value, and hidden potential of the 1952 D mint mark wheat penny. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this humble 1-cent coin continues to capture attention in the coin collecting world. Let's travel back to 1952. America was in the early years of the Cold War. The Korean War was still ongoing. Television was becoming more common in American homes. And through it all, the United States Mint was producing billions of coins to keep the economy moving. Among them was the iconic Lincoln wheat penny. The wheat penny design had already been around for over 4 decades. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, it was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical person. The obverse shows the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. Above his head is the word liberty, and to the right, the motto "In God We Trust." On the 1952 version, just under the date, you'll see the small but important letter D. That tiny D stands for the Denver Mint, officially known as the United States Mint Facility in Denver. In 1952, the Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these pennies. In fact, the mintage was over 746 million coins. That sounds like a huge number, and it is. So you might be wondering, how can a coin with such a massive mintage be worth anything significant? Here's where condition, rarity within grades, and special characteristics come into play. Most 1952 D wheat pennies you'll find today are heavily circulated. They've passed through countless hands, bought candy, paid for newspapers, and jingled in pockets for years. These circulated examples usually show wear on Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and hair. The wheat stalks on the reverse often appear flat and smooth from decades of USE.IN lower circulated grades. These coins are common and generally worth only a small premium over face value. But the story changes dramatically when we look at high-grade uncirculated examples. Coins that were never used in everyday commerce, those preserved in rolls, collections, or mint sets, can display stunning detail. On a high-grade 1952 D wheat penny, Lincoln's hair strands are sharp and well-defined. The wheat ears on the reverse are bold, with clear lines and separation. Even more important is the original mint luster, a radiant shine that cartwheels across the surface when tilted under light. Collectors use a grading scale from 1 to 70 to determine a coin's condition. The higher the number, the better the condition. While many 1952 pennies survive in grades like MS-63 or MS-64, coins graded MS-66 and above become significantly scarcer. And when you enter the realm of MS-67 with strong red coloration, often labeled as red or RD, you're talking about a coin that is extremely difficult to find. Color plays a major role in value. Freshly minted copper coins have a bright reddish-orange appearance. Over time, exposure to air and handling turns copper brown. Collectors categorize copper coins as red, red-brown, or brown. A fully red example from 1952 that has retained its vibrant original color for more than 70 years is a true survivor. But condition isn't the only factor that makes the 1952 wheat penny exciting. There are also error coins and varieties that collectors hunt for. Although the 1952 isn't as famous for dramatic double dies as some other years, small minting errors such as repunched mint marks or minor die cracks can add interest and value. Collectors carefully examine the mint mark under magnification. In earlier decades, mint marks were punched by hand into the die, which sometimes resulted in slight doubling or repositioning. These subtle details can transform an ordinary-looking penny into a desirable variety. Another key aspect is strike quality. The Denver Mint in the early 1950s sometimes produced coins with slightly softer strikes compared to the Philadelphia Mint. A sharply struck 1952 with crisp wheat lines and strong detail in Lincoln's hair can command a premium because it stands out from the typical examples. Let's talk about demand. The Lincoln Wheat series is one of the most widely collected coin series in American history. From beginners filling blue coin folders to advanced numismatists building registry sets, the demand remains steady. The wheat penny design ran from 1909 to 1958 before being replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse in 1959. Because of its long run and historical charm, many collectors aim to complete the entire set. The 1952 may not be the rarest date in the series, but high-grade examples are essential for top-tier collections. Registry set collectors, those competing for the finest graded sets, are willing to pay substantial amounts for the best-known specimens. Now imagine finding a 1952 wheat penny in pristine condition. The surface glows with original red luster. The strike is sharp and full. The coin has been certified and encapsulated by a professional grading service, confirming its authenticity and high grade. At that point, you're no longer dealing with a simple 1-cent piece. You're holding a premium collectible with serious market value. What should you look for if you think you might have one? First, check the date and mint mark carefully. Make sure the D is clearly visible beneath the year 1952. Next, examine the overall condition. Are Lincoln's facial features sharp? Do you see strong lines in the wheat stalks? Is there minimal contact marking on the surface? Then consider the color. Does the coin still display bright red tones, or has it turned brown? If your coin appears exceptional, consider having it authenticated and graded by a reputable third-party grading service. Professional grading not only confirms the condition, but also protects the coin in a sealed holder, which increases buyer confidence. It's also important to store copper coins properly. Avoid touching the surface with bare fingers, as oils from your skin can cause spots or discoloration. Store coins in a cool, dry environment using archival quality holders to preserve their condition. Many collectors overlook mid-20th century pennies because they assume they are too common. But as time passes, high-grade examples become harder to find. Coins are lost, damaged, cleaned improperly, or simply worn down. The population of truly superb examples shrinks over time, which can drive values upward. And here's the moment you've been waiting for. While most 1952 D wheat pennies are worth only modest premiums in circulated condition, an extraordinary, top-rated, fully red example in superb mint state condition has reached a remarkable value in the collector market. That small copper coin, originally worth just 1 cent, has achieved a price of $62,864. Think about that transformation. From a coin that could barely buy a piece of candy in 1952 to a collectible worth more than many brand new cars today. That's the power of condition, rarity within grade, and collector demand combined. So next time you come across an old wheat penny, don't dismiss it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that tiny D mint mark. Examine the color and detail. Because hidden among the ordinary coins in circulation, there could be an extraordinary piece of American history waiting to be discovered. Imagine reaching into your pocket and pulling out a simple old penny, only to discover that this tiny copper coin could be worth more than a brand new luxury car. That's the magic of rare coin collecting, and today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating and talked about coins in American history, the 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny. This isn't just another 1-cent coin. It's a piece of history, a minting mystery, and for some lucky collectors, a life-changing discovery. Let's travel back to 1955 in the United States of America. The country was in the middle of a booming post-war economy. Rock and roll was rising, televisions were becoming household staples, and cars with big chrome bumpers ruled the highways. During that same year, the United States Mint was hard at work producing millions upon millions of Lincoln cents for everyday circulation. The obverse of the 1955 wheat penny features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design had already been in use since 1909, marking the first time a real historical figure appeared on a regular issue U.S. coin. On the reverse, you'll find the classic wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. This is why collectors lovingly call it the wheat penny. Now here's where things get interesting. When we say no mint mark, it means the coin was struck in Philadelphia. During 1955, coins produced in Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark. Only coins from Denver carried a D, and San Francisco used an S. So, if you look at your 1955 wheat penny and see no letter below the date that tells you it was minted in Philadelphia. At first glance, that might not seem special. After all, Philadelphia struck over 330 million Lincoln cents in 1955. That's a huge number. So how can something produced in the hundreds of millions become rare or valuable? The answer lies in one of the most famous minting errors in American coin history. In 1955, a dramatic and highly visible double die error occurred during the minting process. This happened when the coin die received a misaligned second impression from the hub, causing the design elements to appear doubled. The most obvious doubling appears in the date 1955, as well as in the words Liberty and In God We Trust. Unlike many minor mint errors that require magnification to detect, the 1955 double die is bold. You can see it clearly with the naked eye. The numbers look thick and shadowed. The letters appear almost as if they were printed twice, slightly offset. What makes this even more fascinating is that thousands of these error coins were released into circulation before the mistake was caught. People began noticing the strange appearance almost immediately. Some thought it was fake. Others believed it was a printing issue. But coin collectors quickly realized something special had slipped through the cracks at the mint. Because so many entered circulation, many examples were heavily used. They passed through soda machines, grocery stores, and banks. Children spent them on candy. Adults tossed them into jars. But a small number survived in much better condition, and those are the coins that ignite bidding wars today. condition plays a massive role in determining value. In coin collecting, grades range from poor all the way up to mint state. A worn 1955 double-die penny might still be worth a significant amount due to its fame, but a sharp, red-colored, uncirculated example with full original mint luster is on an entirely different level. Collectors also pay attention to color designations. Copper coins are classified as brown, red-brown, or red. A full red example, meaning it retains most of its original bright copper color, is especially desirable. Over time, copper darkens due to oxidation, so finding a vibrant red coin from 1955 is no easy task. Another factor influencing value is authenticity. Because the 1955 double-die penny is so famous, it has been widely counterfeited. Some unscrupulous individuals attempt to alter regular 1955 pennies to mimic the doubling. That's why serious collectors rely on professional grading services to verify authenticity and assign a grade. Beyond the double-die variety, regular 1955 no-mint mark wheat pennies without errors are generally common and affordable in circulated condition. However, even standard examples in pristine, high mint state grades can command impressive premiums because of their historical significance and strong collector demand. What makes the 1955 issue so legendary isn't just rarity, it's visibility. Many error coins require microscopes to appreciate. This one practically shouts at you. The bold doubling transformed an everyday cent into a superstar of the coin world. The 1955 double-die Lincoln cent has been featured in countless coin books, auction catalogs, and collector discussions. It's often considered one of the most famous error coins ever produced by the United States Mint. Even people who don't actively collect coins have heard whispers about that 1955 penny with the double date. And here's the exciting part. Some of these coins are still out there. It's entirely possible that one could be sitting unnoticed in an old coin jar, tucked inside a family collection, or hidden in a roll of pennies from the bank. Stories continue to surface of lucky individuals discovering one by chance. That thrill of the hunt is what keeps collectors searching. If you think you found a 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny, take a close look at the date and lettering. Is the doubling strong and clear? Does it look intentional or machine-like? True double-die errors have a very distinct appearance compared to mechanical doubling, which looks flat and shelf-like. Lighting is important. Tilt the coin under a bright light and examine the details carefully. If the doubling is bold and obvious, you might be holding something extraordinary. Remember, value depends on several key factors: rarity of the specific variety, condition, and grade, color designation. Market demand authentication. When all these elements align perfectly, the result can be astonishing. The 1955 no-mint mark wheat penny represents more than just money. It captures a moment in American manufacturing history when human error created accidental treasure. It reminds us that even in massive production systems, imperfections can become priceless. Collectors love stories, and this coin tells a powerful one. It speaks of mid-century America, of busy mint workers, of machines humming late into the night, and of a mistake that slipped quietly into circulation, only to become legendary decades later. Today, when a top condition, authenticated 1955 no-mint mark double-die wheat penny appears at auction, the excitement is electric. Bidders from around the world compete fiercely. Prices climb quickly. And when the hammer finally falls, headlines follow. In the highest known grades with exceptional eye appeal and blazing red surfaces, this humble 1-cent coin has reached a staggering value of $62,832. Think about that for a moment. 1 cent, transformed into a 5-figure treasure. So, the next time you see an old wheat penny, don't ignore it. Take a closer look. Examine the date. Study the lettering. Because hidden within that tiny copper disc might be a story, a piece of history, and possibly a fortune waiting to be discovered. If you think a single penny can't change your life, then today's story might completely surprise you. because hidden in old jars, dusty drawers, and forgotten coin collections across the United States could be a tiny copper treasure, the 1956 D Mint Mark Wheat penny. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary 1-cent coin. But in the right condition, this small piece of history has stunned collectors with its incredible value. The United States was in the heart of the 1950s, a time of booming industry, classic cars, jukebox music, and growing suburbs. At the center of everyday commerce was the familiar Lincoln Wheat penny, officially known as the Lincoln cent. First introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln, this coin was groundbreaking. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure. On the front of the coin, you see the dignified profile of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, appear subtly on the design. The inscriptions read, "In God We Trust." At the top, Liberty to the left, and the date 1956 to the right. Just beneath the date, you'll find the small but powerful letter D, the mint mark. That tiny D tells us this coin was struck at the Denver Mint, officially known as the United States Mint Facility in Denver. During 1956, the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln Wheat cents. In fact, over 1.09 billion 1956 D pennies were struck. That might sound like a huge number, and it is, but here's where things get interesting. Most of those coins entered circulation. They were used in vending machines, dropped in cash registers, and passed from hand to hand. Over decades, they were scratched, worn down, damaged, or simply lost. Finding one today in average circulated condition is easy. But finding one in pristine, high-grade, uncirculated condition is an entirely different story. And in the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor all the way to mint state 70. A circulated 1956 D Wheat penny in worn condition might only be worth a few cents above face value. Even in extremely fine condition, it might bring a modest premium. But when we talk about mint state coins, especially those graded MS66, MS67, or higher, now we are entering serious collector territory. The 1956 D penny is made primarily of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. Because of this high copper content, these coins develop a beautiful natural color over time. Collectors often categorize them as brown, red-brown, or red. The most valuable examples are those that retain their original bright red luster, looking almost as fresh as the day they were struck. Imagine a coin that has survived nearly 70 years without losing its fiery copper shine. No heavy scratches. No discoloration. Full original mint luster glowing under light. That is the kind of coin collectors compete for. But condition alone is not the only factor. Strike quality also plays a major role. Some 1956 D wheat pennies were weakly struck, meaning the details on Lincoln's hair or the wheat stalks on the reverse are not sharp. Strongly struck examples with crisp lines and bold details are far more desirable. The reverse design, featuring two wheat ears framing the words 1 cent and United States of America, must show clear grain lines in the wheat to command top value. Then there are error coins. While the 1956 D penny is not widely known for dramatic mint errors, small varieties do exist. Off-center strikes, die cracks, and repunched mint marks can add additional interest and value. Any unusual characteristic can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's prize. Now here's what makes this coin fascinating. Because so many were minted, many people overlook the 1956 D wheat penny. They assume it can't possibly be valuable. But rarity in coin collecting isn't just about mintage numbers. It's about surviving condition at the highest levels. As decades passed, very few 1956 D pennies were carefully preserved in flawless condition. Most were spent. Very few were saved in rolls and kept untouched. and even fewer survive without developing spots or carbon marks, which are common on copper coins. Today, when one of these coins surfaces in superb gem condition with blazing red color and near-perfect surfaces, it captures serious attention at auction. Collectors across the country search estate sales, old bank rolls, and inherited collections hoping to discover one of these hidden gems. Coin grading services carefully examine each detail under magnification. They evaluate strike, luster, surface preservation, and eye appeal. A single grade point difference can mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars in value difference. And this is why the 1956 wheat penny continues to excite collectors. It represents a blend of history, artistry, and the thrill of possibility. It reminds us that even something as small as a penny can carry decades of American heritage. It passed through the hands of everyday Americans during the Eisenhower era. It may have bought candy, stamps, or a newspaper. And today, it could be sitting quietly in a collection, waiting to reveal its true worth. If you happen to own a 1956 wheat penny, here's what to look for. Check the color. Is it bright red or dark brown? Examine the wheat lines on the reverse. Are they sharp and fully detailed? Look at Lincoln's cheek and jawline. Are there major marks, or is the surface clean and smooth? And most importantly, has the coin been professionally graded? Authentication and grading from reputable services can dramatically increase buyer confidence. Collectors are willing to pay strong premiums for certified high-grade examples because condition is verified. The beauty of coin collecting is that treasures are often hiding in plain sight. Many people have jars of old pennies at home without realizing what might be inside. While most 1956 wheat pennies are common, the few exceptional survivors stand apart from the rest. Think about it. A coin originally worth just 1 cent, produced for everyday transactions, now capable of commanding attention from serious numismatists. It's a powerful reminder that time, preservation, and rarity can transform even the smallest object into something extraordinary. And when a flawless, blazing red example of the 1956 mint mark wheat penny appears in elite condition, collectors have seen values reach as high as $62,837. So, the next time you come across an old wheat penny, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for that small mint mark. Because history has shown that sometimes the most ordinary coins carry the most extraordinary potential.